In a game where they needed to impose themselves physically, where they needed to deal with the occasion, with the noise, with the intensity of it, and all of that was there, if not necessarily on the pitch from Sunderland at times, certainly in the stands. Joe Linton was the one who silenced people. Well, hello again from the Stadium of Light, where it's just me and a lawnmower. And I'm going to attempt to cut through the noise of today's Tyne-Wear derby. And it was noisy, it was a good occasion, I enjoyed it very much, but in the end, it was a fairly routine, easy win for Newcastle, wasn't it? Yeah, 3-0, and so much for this game being the last thing Eddie Howe needed, didn't I? I said on the video yesterday that when the draw was made, it had all the promise and excitement for you guys and from a Newcastle perspective, but 4 weeks on, there was a little bit more trepidation. Well, yeah, I was wrong, because Newcastle come here and I thought they were super professional. They handled the occasion and they handled matters on the pitch as well. I just thought from the off, I said to the guys beforehand that you'd get a feeling after 5 or 10 minutes whether Newcastle were up for this. And after 10 or so minutes, I turned to colleagues in the press box and thought, you know, Newcastle have got this. Yes, it looked like there might be some resistance and, you know, it might be hard work to a degree, and it did take the own goal. I mean, some of the finishing in the first half from Newcastle at 0-0 was pretty wild, and I think they were threatening the seagulls which circle around these parts, but no, they've got the lead through the own goal, and from then on really I just thought Newcastle were very, very good. Now we'll get to some individual performances and we'll get to the merit stars as well. I thought there were lots of candidates today, but we've just spoken to Eddie Howe downstairs, and yes, while it was a brilliant day for Newcastle, and you guys will rightly, you were just in the stand over my shoulder there, you'll rightly go away and enjoy it. How can you not? You know, I still think you've got to temper it to a degree, and I don't want to be negative. I know I get accused of being Mr. Negative at times. I'd say I'm more Mr. Realistic. I still think you've got to temper talk of corners being turned and it being listen, Eddie said to us it could be a springboard. I'd go along with springboard, but I wouldn't go along with corners yet being turned, especially not when waiting around the corner is Manchester City and Aston Villa. That today was, you know, the 17 places separate Newcastle and Sunderland in the football pyramid. Well, it looked like 117 today. I really expected it to be, for two reasons really. I expected it to be a closer game because Sunderland are currently 6th in the Championship, and I've seen them once or twice this season. They've got some good young players, and also because Newcastle were coming into it with confidence so low, and I thought it was really telling that the one word Eddie's just kept on repeating to us downstairs there is confidence, and what this victory will do for them in that regard. And to that end, you know, the talk, and it come from people like myself, and I was asked it again on radio before the game about this game being the last thing Eddie needed, and I said it was. All he needed now was just a routine 3 o'clock home match against lower league opposition, where, although saying that, given how they've got on the third round in the past couple of years, maybe that wouldn't have been as routine as we expect. But no, on reflection, you know, now I've sat here, this could be exactly what they need in terms of restoring that belief as a team. And as individuals as well, you know, come the end there in the second half, they're rolling out all the old hits, those patterns of play down the right, down the left that we haven't seen for so long now, really clicking now. What I will say is it's towards the end that Sunderland did get 1 or 2 chances, and where did they get the chances? Well, they got them in the number 10 position. Alex Pritchard came in field, and he did have a couple of shots there, and if they'd got a goal at 2-1, who knows what the finale would have set them up for. So there's still areas that need to be addressed there defensively, I think, and I'm not going to ever waver from that. But in a game where Newcastle spent much of it on the front foot, much of it in charge, I thought they really did show their best selves. Now, just to talk through the games and the goals, I've already mentioned there, they got the opener through the own goal, and yeah, after a week of PR own goals for Sunderland, an actual one on the pitch, and yeah, the black and white signage may have gone in that Black Cats bar, but what they put out in its place was a red carpet, and Newcastle duly walked all over it, and yeah, Dan Ballard gives them the lead. It's brilliant work by Joe Linton. Bruno's ball in behind. That's 1-0. Then early in the second half, Miguel Almiron, again, we'll come on to individual performances. Almiron picks the pocket of the midfielder in the box. Isak puts it away. Fantastic finish from that point on. It's game over. It really is. They eventually had the third with Alexander Isak's penalty in the 90th minute. And a player I want to go back to because I think he set the tone for victory. He went off in the 46th, 47th minute, shortly after the second goal, and he's just given us an update downstairs. They said the only negative to come from today is the thigh injury to Joe Linton. They don't know how bad that is, and wow, what a loss that would be, because while this was a contest, and it was still a contest in the first 15, 20, half an hour, while Sunderland was sitting in and trying to contain Newcastle, I thought Joe Linton was the player who made the biggest difference on the match in terms of that physicality. Now, I saw an interesting post from a viewer and someone who was on Twitter, on X this week, a Newcastle fan, who said that he would sooner sell Bruno 3 times over than he would Joe Linton, and I think he caveated the tweet with he's putting his tin hat on. But honestly, I wouldn't be a million miles away from sharing the same opinion. I said at the end of last year that I thought the single biggest player when he was on his game who had the greatest influence on Newcastle, I think can be Joe Linton, and that was evident there today. You know, in a game where they needed to impose themselves physically, where they needed to deal with the occasion, with the noise, with the intensity of it, and all of that was there, if not necessarily on the pitch from Sunderland at times, certainly in the stands. Joe Linton was the one who silenced people and at the same time galvanised his own number as well. So I thought Joe Linton was tremendous. You know, I just thought he was worth special mention, bearing in mind that he did go off early in the second half, shortly after the second goal. But by then he had done his work in terms of getting Newcastle in that winning position. And Eddie had backed his players today. You know, I wondered yesterday, would he change formation or system given the weaknesses they've shown? Well, no, he didn't. He sent his players out with the same message, the same instruction they've had in all of their recent games when it hasn't worked, but the same strategy which had served them so well previously. And like I said, you know, maybe everything clicking there again today, maybe that is just exactly what they did need. I wouldn't go as far as a training match, that would be disrespectful, but certainly in the second half they were given the time and the space to sort of to top up on those reserves of confidence. And they found a way to win as well, because, you know, like I said, that first 20-25 minutes, you know, they were attacking down the right, and yes, Trippier laid on 1 or 2 openings for Sean Longstaff, but then they managed to switch things and they went over to the left where they had a lot more joy, and ultimately the first goal and the third goal have come down the left flank. And Anthony Gordon as well, you know, he will take a lot from that. And I just thought, yeah, quite a cheeky. I think Dan Ballard tried to pull his shirt off there in the second half, and he responded by saying, well, he can have it after the game. Given Sunderland's hospitality of late, you wouldn't be surprised if they did pin the black and white shirt up in the boardroom. But yeah, that is not of Newcastle's concern. All that pre-match noise and furor around the Black Cats bar. There was, for Newcastle, I thought, a danger that could galvanise and stoke the home crowd and the home team even further after a week of adversity and friction and all the rest of it. But it just didn't play out like that. And Sunderland, I thought they got the game plan wrong, really. They sat in, they never threatened Newcastle. By the time they eventually did, the game had gone. Maybe they weren't good enough to ever do that, I don't know. But I've certainly seen more from the likes of Jack Clarke and Joe Bellingham to suggest that they're better than what they showed today. But Newcastle didn't allow them to be. And I just thought Eddie got his game plan spot on. The players turned up, and I thought they were full value for it. You know, full credit to them. Even if, as I said earlier, I do temper it with, I think they've now got to go and show that in the Premier League. Now, coming on to the merit marks, and I've honestly wrestled with this because I thought there were a number of candidates, but the 3 stars, I think it's got to go to Bruno Fernandes. I think he had a really good game today. I wanted to give it to Joe Linton, but because he's only played 46-47 minutes, I think you've got to give it to Bruno. Having criticised him at times for not controlling in midfield, and yes, that was against lesser opposition, he still stepped up and he still did it. I thought he had a very good game. It's his brilliant ball which frees Joe Linton for the first goal. I thought he got about the park. He must have, I haven't seen the data for number of touches, but he seemed to constantly be on the ball, constantly be involved, and I thought he really stepped up today, as he would again. You know, it comes back to, I expected Bruno to have a good game today, just like when in that second half against Fulham, when you need him to don the superhero cape, when you need him to be that player, he is always it. The challenge for him now is to do it when they're away from home against, you know, tougher opposition. Or he's got to start doing it all of the time, because for me at the moment, Bruno is blowing hot and Bruno is blowing cold. Credit to him, he always plays. He's always there, the effort is always there. I just think there's got to be at times more discipline in his performance. That game there today, like I say, when they weren't being pushed the other way, was set up for him. It's when they are on the back foot at times, when they are leaving holes in the middle of that midfield, that I think Newcastle have got to see more from him. But for today, in the isolation of this performance, I think you've got to give him top marks. Bruno Fernandes gets the 3, and the 2, and it's a player I've already spoken about at length, and even though he only played 47 minutes, Joe Linton's got to get the 2 stars. How can you not, when he, for me, is the overriding reason Newcastle were in a position shortly after half-time where the game was done. Now, I'm going to break with any previous precedents here and give 3 1 stars, namely because I cannot split them. I think they're all worthy of mention. One of those stars goes to Miguel Almiron, a player who's come in for a lot of criticism of late, and justifiably so. I thought even in the first half there, I made a note on my screen that Newcastle had one really promising break down the right-hand side where it was Joe Linton, Trippier, they're swapping passes. It got to Almiron, he just couldn't sort his feet out to use that right foot, and they lost the ball, and Sunderland went and broke. But nonetheless, I thought he was much better today. He had that old energy back, and it was Almiron, of course, who brilliantly picked the pocket of the Sunderland player there early in the second half for the second goal, which was ultimately clinched the game. Also within the 1 stars, Kieran Trippier. You know, we all heard what the home fans were singing. I thought it was quite a nice moment in the second half when the scoreboard there behind us, the home fans were taunting Trippier, and he just pointed up to the scoreboard at 2-0, which was quite a good riposte. But more than that, the better response was his performance, and he there today saw a lot of the ball. I thought he was cool, I thought he was composed. He probably wasn't fully fit after nursing a groin injury all week, but that was for him somewhere back to his best. Again, the challenge for Trippier, given you can't hide from the fact that he hasn't been great in recent weeks, he's now got to take that into the Premier League. And how can I not give 1 star to a player who scored 2 goals? Now, some of you might be shouting at me, how didn't he get the 3? Well, you know, he didn't, and that's just I'm not taking anything away from Alexander Isak. I thought he was fantastic. Thought he had a very good game. You know, it's his presence that forces the opening goal. He probably would have been away free on goal if he wasn't brought down by Ballard in the first half. Now, I've only seen 1 replay of that really quickly, and my initial instinct was if Isak is actually quick and a bit stronger, he does get away. I don't know. Maybe that's harsh. Either way, Almiron it was who put him through for that as well. By the way, you know, he recovered from that. He forces the first goal to a degree by putting himself in the goal mouth, and he would have scored if Ballard hadn't got there. And then in the second half, you know, that finished so cool for the second goal there, slotting in the top corner with the defender recovering on the line, and he then goes and gets the penalty at the very end as well. So 1 star finally, and a final belated mention for the guy who actually scored 2 goals today. Now, what does that victory do for Eddie Howe? Well, it'll be a relief. That was the key word you felt afterwards from Howe, because you know the pressure was beginning to build. How can it not be with 7 defeats in 8? And yes, while he retained support of us in the media, you guys as fans, and the UK-based owners of the club, a defeat here today would have left a great unknown and would have drawn on those reserves of goodwill. They would have taken a hell of a hit. Maybe not today, but certainly down the line if there'd been further defeats. I think this would always been a point of reference for people to go back to if they had lost today. Now, that seems silly talking about that now, bearing in mind how comprehensive that victory was. Maybe we were naive to ever consider that Newcastle would come here and do anything other than win. But nonetheless, you know, they've come here, they've been brilliant, they've been superior, and that full value for going into the 4th round of the cup now. And yeah, you forget really, you know, we're talking to Eddie there, and you actually forget that it was a cup tie, and it has put them into the next round. It just felt like such an event, such an occasion in isolation. So there you go. Maybe we will all get back to Wembley after all this year, and I think I'll be down at Middlesbrough on Tuesday night covering the Carabao Cup semi-final against Chelsea, and that should have been Newcastle. You know, that just wow. I think when us North East reporters walk in there, as glad as we are to have Middlesbrough in the last 4 of the competition, and we really want them to win, you know, we want to get back to Wembley. That probably should have been Newcastle who were playing that tie. But anyway, it's not. It hasn't been great since then. It hasn't been a good few weeks for Newcastle. They're struggling in the Premier League. But this today, as Eddie said, this might just do something for them today in terms of restoring those levels of, you know, of belief, of confidence, you know, mentally just topping up on what was a really good day for them, and one in the end they did celebrate there with the customary dressing room picture right in front of you guys, right in front of 6,000 supporters. So I hope you've enjoyed the day, no doubt you have. I hope you've enjoyed this video. My links to my Mail on Sunday match report will be in the description below. Please click on that. Please have a read of all of the stuff we've done. I'll put my preview in there as well. I wrote for the Daily Mail this morning a big preview exploring the Tyne-Wear rivalry and the origins of it, which a piece I really enjoyed doing this week. So yeah guys, thank you again for watching. If belated, please hit like, comment and subscribe as well. You know, plenty of debate always below the line. It always prompts some really good replies as well. So yeah, I'm going to thank you again guys. One last scan of the stadium. Okay, see you soon. Bye bye.